Morning guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Major Rostermania developments continuing yesterday. Big rumours as to what some of the big name players in this transfer window might potentially look like, but also what are Sentinels cooking with their announcement yesterday and what does it mean for Zekken. Rumour has it Zekken is potentially a full free agent at this present moment. He could go anywhere, and with rumours that 100 Thieves might be looking to build a super team, some questions and some heads have been turned, with Zekken and Cryo spotted playing some ranked over the last couple of days, and whether they could be teammates yet again. But would that be on Sentinels or would that be on 100 T? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Big thanks as well for 80,000 subs. I think we hit that milestone a couple of days ago. Thanks for all the support recently, and well, lots more to come in this roster period. We're going to start here because Ascension is getting underway. It finishes, as always, in China a week before it finishes in the other regions. I think in China it finishes on the 19th of October, and in the other regions it finishes on the 26th of October, when the team that will get promoted again is crowned. Now, Dragon Ranger Gaming are in Ascension, right? Because, yes, they qualified and played at the World Championship. They brought in Demon 1. It didn't really go to plan, but XLG famously beat Sentinels, knocked Sentinels out, so they finished top 12, DRG finished top 16, and as a result, despite the fact that both of those teams qualified last year through Ascension, basically, they were both guest teams, and if you qualify for champs as a guest team, you get to definitely stay around again for next year. But of course, if both teams qualified as they did, then it becomes more difficult to actually make that happen. So one of them was always going to get relegated to Ascension and have to play for their spot. Now, I did wonder whether the way that it would work is if you do drop down back to Ascension, you would just play the winner of Ascension. But actually, that's not how it works. DRG goes straight into the Lion's Den, and they are in Group A, and they play Thunder Gaming, right, as we saw a second ago. So these are the teams that are down there. Of course, we've got Rare Atom, we've got the other teams. The team that Rare Atom are playing here, Any Questions Gaming, that is Simon's team, just to keep in mind. So yeah, that's what's happening over there in China right now. But DRG, instead of playing the eventual winners of Ascension, they just have to play through the whole of Ascension, which is probably a better way to do it, right? Like, they do have more opportunities, therefore, to get eliminated, but they also have more momentum, and I don't think DRG should struggle too much to make it back through. But it is kind of unfortunate, right? Simon would love to make it, but he's got to play against a team that literally just played at champs and is probably going to dominate this Ascension tournament, but you never really know. So that's what's happening in China. Enjoy your thoughts as ever. Let's talk about some of the roster stuff. So TenZ revealed yesterday, we even shared the clip at the end of yesterday's video, that TenZ might come back if they bring in some adjustable monitors, if they, have the desk, or, well, the better monitors, adjustable desk, etc, etc. And we did actually get a reply from Leo to this. He says, "This guy did tell me that, for visibility, a new fleet of monitors is already underway. We've been working on it for some time, but just couldn't employ it or deploy it in time for champs." We know that Demon 1, among others, were pretty vocal on their criticism of the monitors that they played with at the World Championship, and Leo says, "We tried, but it didn't quite happen. But for Santiago, they will be there with the superior monitors. And yes, I will definitely look into adjustable desks. But once those things are live, I want no excuses, TenZ." And TenZ is like, "All right, W." So, yeah, who knows? Right? TenZ even said it in this clip. He was like, "Well, if Leo listens to me and he gives me all of those things," and we know how it goes, right? Like, TenZ might not be playing anymore, but if he says, "I want this," then it happens, basically, and it's happening again. So TenZ might feel a little bit of pressure there if they do deliver this and the adjustable desks arrive and they've got the better monitors, for TenZ to be like, "Well, okay, maybe I need to think about a return." And there has been a lot of talk about TenZ's return, especially because they did the announcement yesterday where they sat down with the red chair. There was a theory going around that this could be related to their League of Legends team because they're effectively taking over 100 Thieves' spot. And that's what it turned out to be, right? So, because there were some people saying, "Oh, it could be the League of Legends announcement," but then people said, "Oh, that they wouldn't do that to the fans," right? They wouldn't put the fans on the heartstrings, as it were, with the announcement coming up. But I think this was just pretty good marketing, all things considered, for Sentinel. So, nothing confirmed yet on their VALORANT team. All that's been confirmed by Rob Moore is that they will be doing plenty of trials, that Zekken and Gen.G are not necessarily going, despite the fact that they've not been in scrims over the last few days, but equally it is important what their contractual situation is and what options they might have. Now, of course, if you have the ability to stay on Sentinels, you are likely to want to stay, but it depends on various circumstances, right? Of course, if you're contracted, then it's a bit of a different story as well. So that was officially confirmed last night, and there was lots of reaction to it. You know, even Senlol say, don't get mad at me, it was their idea. There was also a bit of talk about this, just by comparison. You guys can probably just about tell. But this red for Sentinels League of Legends is a different red to the main Sentinels. I mean, the main Sentinels is a little bit more of a pinky red. I mean, you can see by the colours here, this is the main Sentinels logo red, and then this is the Sentinels LOL one, which is... it is marginal, but it is slightly more red, which some people are saying, oh, they've got to change it, but I imagine that might well be deliberate. You can actually see on the right-hand side, it's more succinct there, maybe, to see between the pairing, whatever. Let's talk about other roster things before we get back. Speaking of red teams, we've got All Gamers. They're looking for international talent. Now, we know that there are, of course, rules when it comes to imports, right? And there is a rumour that they reached out to Alim, who's been really turning heads from QOR. Apparently, though, he's not interested in going to play for All Gamers in China. They've allowed their flex player to explore options, so All Gamers are looking abroad for their next talent. There's also lots of rumours about Loud. Their coach, Matt, has announced that he's out of there. He's looking for a team. So, you know, it's very interesting because apparently he was assigned the role of designing the new team that was going to be Brazilian. But now there are rumours that actually, yeah, they're going to go a different route here, right? That maybe he wanted to form a Brazilian team. The organisation is not so convinced. I think it might be partly to do with what's happened with MIBR. I'm not saying they're not going to have any Brazilian players at all. That would be really strange. But with MIBR, right, they brought in Verno. It actually kind of works, right? Somehow things turned around for them. Not to say that going Brazilian is not an option, but we've seen with other teams now that there is some value in going a different route. You know, even with Robbie BK and stuff last season, there were some hints at this direction. So who knows what Loud are cooking up? Is it going to be any good? I don't know that either. But about Keiko. So Keiko, Team Liquid, at the end of the season, they looked for some time like they were going to be a serious force. It all kind of fizzled out at the end of the year at the World Championship when it mattered, but of course they did win the EMEA playoffs against Giant X to get to that point. But Keiko is to explore options. So they want to keep him for sure, but if his contract is up, then he is looking at options, and apparently he is trialing it with a North American team. So feel free to speculate as to who that may or may not be, but if Keiko's contract is up with Liquid, they might want to keep him around. But if he wants to go to the Americas and one of these Americas teams and they give him a good offer, then he could be a seriously valuable asset. So there has been a bit of talk, and people immediately said, well, what about Sen, right? Could it be Sentinels? Could they be interested? There's a bit of discussion on that because of the import situation with John QT. So Rocket Bullets finds it up here on the spreadsheet, and you guys can see the contract database as follows. Narrate and Bang, their contracts run out at the end of next year, 2026, but for Zekken, for John QT, and for Zeltis, their contracts run out right now. So those guys are free agents, their contracts are over, they may re-sign, they may want to re-sign, but that will require a new deal to happen. And then it's Redux, who is signed until 2027, and then of course Kaplan until next year. But it is noted that those are all residents, apart from John QT. He is considered an import, and as a result, you can't play around too much with multiple imports. So there are questions on maybe Sentinels, if John QT stays, are going to be not limited precisely. They've got plenty of options, but they can't just go and sign anyone from anywhere, right? As we understand with the import rules that are still a thing. Also confirmation from Cortasia, from MIBR, restricted free agents. And this is very interesting because he's still under contract with MIBR. They've got some other players that aren't. Aspas is not, Verno is not. They may stay, they may go. But you'd have thought that Cortasia, given the season he had, might well have been kept. But when a player announces restricted free agents, it very likely means that they want him gone, right? And that he's still under contract and he may stay. It's possible. But there will be interest, I think, to buy Cortasia out of that deal. And when a team lets you say that you're an RFA, usually that's because they have made the decision to part ways, but they want some money for you, basically. Whereas if they still kind of want to keep you, but you're allowed to explore options, then usually you will say, I've been allowed to explore my options. That usually means that the team kind of wants to keep me, but technically if they get a better offer, then they might consider it. But when a player says RFA, usually that does mean the team has elected to go a different route, which I'm somewhat surprised by. But if you are MIBI, your only real goal is to try and keep Aspas around and keep him happy at any cost. If that's part of the process, who knows? Now, thanks for a couple of you guys pointing this out to me. So, rumours for some time what 100 Thieves are going to do from a head coaching perspective. We think they might be picking up the former TSM or current TSM coach after Ascension is over. There's this guy though, Harry, also known as Zello. He was former QOR head coach. It might be that he's just working with Game Changers, but I'm not 100% sure. But a few days ago, he announced that he's officially on 100 Thieves as a coach. So maybe they do have some decision makers behind the scenes over there. But this is relevant because with 100 Thieves making some decisions on their roster front, what are they going to do about Cryo? The other day, FNS said that he would absolutely, if he was Sentinels, try to get Cryo into their team. It just makes an awful lot of sense, especially because you rewind a couple of years, X-Set with Zekken and Cryo did all rather well, and it's been spotted that they've been playing a little bit of ranked together. So here we are, we've got Zekken, we've got 100T Cryo. So, you know, rekindling, maybe to some degree, that old relationship. And does it make a lot of sense? I think absolutely yes. The question therefore would be, if Zekken and Cryo want to team with one another again, and if Zekken wants to and Cryo wants to, and they're like, look, we think that we are the duo to take our team back to the top, then what does that look like and where does it end up? Because Zekken's on Sen, Cryo's on 100 Thieves. Do Sentinels go out and they buy Cryo out of his contract to 100 Thieves and make that work on Sentinels? Absolutely possible. But it would be cheaper for 100 Thieves to do the opposite, right? Because Zekken's a free agent. They could offer Zekken a solid salary, no buyout involved. They could go and get him. Whereas Sentinels would have a more expensive time to re-sign Zekken for money and then also buy Cryo out of his deal. And with some rumours flying around that 100 Thieves are trying to form a super team with the partnership renewals on the horizon, it's definitely something that is worth keeping in mind. So very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.